So thanks, Doug, for sharing your vacation with us.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Brown, and I'm the chair of the College Area Community Council. For those of you who are regulars, it's great to see you. And for those of you who are new, the College Area Community Council is an organization designed to provide a forum for community issues, a conduit for communications with the city, an opportunity for neighborhood problem solving and planning in the college area. This meeting is being recorded, and you will have access to the recording later at our website, caccventura.com. This is an open forum meeting, and your engagement is welcome. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand physically, or you can do it virtually in the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. You can also contribute or ask questions in the chat. I want to take a moment and introduce those volunteers who give generously of their time and talents to make this happen. Rob Corley is our vice chair. Taki Bremer is our secretary. Eric Rosenberg is our treasurer. Bob Shilkin, Russell Richardson, and Dina Rogers are members at large. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get started with Mike Brown, who is a Ventura police officer, and he's going to give us our crime stats for the area or the city.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you again. I missed you guys last month on vacation in Montana. So I don't think it was as nice as Croatia, but it was still very pretty up there. So it's good to see you all. I'm actually happy to report that a lot. Let me share my screen with the stats. Not a lot of significant items over the last 28 days. There were a couple higher incidents of fights, and a lot of those were attributed to towards the end of the school year, and now it's starting to be at the beginning of the summer. People generally a little bit more active, but we did see a rise in some fights in the schools as the graduations got closer, but nothing significant. There were only 3 burglaries reported as far as residential, and one of those I'm not sure if it was coded correctly because it was a subject in a backyard, so that might have been a prowling, not necessarily a burglary. One was to an open garage where some bikes were taken in an open garage, and then one was at Camariel Park, which was the snack house. So. Still, obviously, a lot of theft in the retail area of the mall, and again in the corridor over at Victoria and Telegraph with Vaughn's and so forth. No catalytic converter thefts, and I wanted to save a little bit of time. If no one had any questions about any crime, particularly here, I wanted to touch base on some of the e-bike related incidents that has surfaced over the last month and kind of those regulations. And then I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about 4th of July and what our plan is for that holiday season. Before I move on, is there any questions on the crime stats here that I've presented? Okay, moving forward, and if you have any questions later, please feel free to email me, and I'm more than happy to assist. Or you can call my direct line at 805-339-4451. So touching base on e-bikes, that seemed to be kind of a hot topic. There was some videos posted on social media. The Detective Bureau began investigating those crimes, and we have made some arrests to that original incident where the lady underneath the 33 freeway was kicked by 2 of the kids. Detectives served search warrants. 2 of the individuals were arrested. There will actually be a pending 3rd arrest now that the investigation has unveiled some more details. So we believe that some more crimes will be found as a result of this investigation, going through phones and so forth. We continue to receive phone calls from community that say, hey, I was a victim of this incident at this time, which allows us to go back to some of these reports where the description might be vague of just a kid on a bike with a black hooded sweatshirt. So now that we have some people identified, we're able to open up some of those previous suspended cases. So there will be more information put out as additional arrests are made. I would like to encourage, especially if there's any parents or if you know anybody with kids with e-bikes, please go to our Facebook page. We have a lot of explanation for the rules and regulations. The laws are very complicated when it comes to e-bikes and scooters and so forth. It can be very, very complicated. Kind of the quick and down and dirty version is if you're 16, I mean, all juveniles have to have helmets regardless. But kids 16 to 18 or 16 and younger cannot ride class 3 e-bikes. So there's actually there's 4 classifications of e-bikes. Class 1 and 2 can travel on bike paths. They can travel on the road. They're pedal assisted or they could have throttle assist, and the top speed is 20 miles an hour for class 1 or class 2. Now, people still can go at an unsafe speed on bike paths, and that also includes bicycles. So if it's a heavily congested, say on the promenade or on a bike path, and someone's riding at 20 miles an hour and they're weaving in and out of people, nearly hitting people, that in and of itself can be unsafe speed, and they can receive a citation for that. So just because you're riding a class 1 or 2, you still have to exercise due care and for the safety of the public. Class 3 e-bikes can only be utilized in bike lanes out on the street, and they have a top speed of 28 miles an hour, which is also pedal or throttle assisted. And some e-bikes can be capable of unrestricted mode or trail mode, and that's for off-road use only, and does allow the bikes to go faster than that. Those are not allowed in those modes on any city streets. They're only allowed on private property or off-road. So those are some of the and adults, if you're operating a class 3 bike, you actually have to wear a bicycle helmet. So juveniles all have to have bicycle helmets. 16 and younger cannot be on class 3s. And any adults riding a class 3 can only be on the street or in a bike lane on the street in class 3 mode, and have to wear a bicycle helmet as well. So that's kind of the easy explanation of the laws and regulations. You start getting into scooters, and some of the other things that we see is electric dirt bikes. Electric dirt bikes are not allowed on city streets at all. Some of the issues that we've been dealing with actually are electric dirt bikes. They don't have pedals. They have very high output engines and or motors, and they're capable of 60 miles an hour and so forth. So those are not legal, and a lot of the parents that we've dealt with simply just didn't know, and they bought electric dirt bikes for their kids, thinking that it might be an e-bike. So if it doesn't have pedals on it, then it's probably an electric dirt bike. And if the speeds are very high on those things, then they're probably not safe or legal for the street. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of the e-bikes. Any question on that before I move to 4th of July? Yes, ma'am.
So I just had a quick question. I had a customer, I'm a State Farm insurance agent, and I had a customer give me a call, and I don't know what classification bike they had, but they said that they'd gotten a citation for not having insurance on their bike. And yeah. It was the only such incident that had been brought to my attention in the past, and they hadn't had them insured before. And I don't, like I said, I do not know what class they were, but yeah, that was something that happened, I want to say March of this year.
So if the definition of an e-bicycle or a motorized bicycle would be an e-bike that has a motor of 750 watts or less. Anything more than 750 watts would be considered a motorcycle or a moped, and they would need a class 1 or a class 2 motorcycle endorsement. depending on the speeds and the size of the motor and so forth.
Okay.
So if it does fall into the actual moped or motor driven cycle requirements like a motorcycle does, then they would be required to have insurance.
And maybe that was the case. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yes, ma'am.
So when you talked about the incident, it sounded like you said under the freeway. Was this kids kicking a homeless person or just someone walking on the street? And you referenced multiple incidents. Could you go into that a little bit more?
Yes, the original incident was there was a group of four. Two of them were actively kicking a homeless woman in a sleeping bag, and those two were arrested and booked at juvenile hall. And then we expect an arrest for a third party as a result of the investigation that will be pending. Some of the other, so that night there was actually quite a few calls for service regarding juveniles disturbing on e-bikes. One of those incidents was on the promenade where people were being spit on by the group. We received multiple calls of juveniles like kicking on doors in the avenue, Ventura Avenue, or in the west side that are on e-bikes. We get quite a few calls, and I actually went in to try to how many calls have we had, and they're labeled under disturbance or juvenile calls, so you would have to go through every single call. But as you know, the watch commander and listening to the calls and so forth, we do have a higher volume of juveniles disturbing on e-bike calls. Like at Kimball Park, we get a lot of calls, and it's something that we're addressing actively. And then also around town, usually groups of juveniles. A recent one towards the end of the school year was in the Telegraph in Victoria at the Vons, where they were trying to ride into the store with a group of them. So our SROs were dealing with that issue as well and working with parents. And again, a lot of it comes down to just not parents not understanding what type of bike that they're buying, and also just making sure that their kids are riding safe and so forth.
Well, and I know some kids that have these bikes don't know the rules of the road. We did have Derek Tower come speak with us, and he talked a little bit about the educational programs for sixth graders and fourth graders. But I know a number of people who've run into incidents where the kids just didn't understand that they were violating road rules.
Correct. One of the most common, especially coming from the traffic realm, is riding the wrong direction. Not riding with the flow of traffic. And the reason that we have such a high volume of collision is because if you think and just pay attention to your own mannerisms as you come up to a stop sign or you come out to a parking lot and you're getting ready to pull out, people are usually looking left at the traffic oncoming and not looking to the right where someone's riding the wrong way. And that's usually where we have the problems is the bikes will ride right out in front of the cars as they're pulling out because people aren't looking to the right because they're not expecting a vehicle or a person to be traveling in that direction. And so that's probably the most common issue that we see. And usually with a lot of juveniles not understanding that they have to be on the right side of the road riding with the flow of traffic.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate you bringing us all this information.
And if I can touch on real quick, 4th of July. 4th of July, we've received many complaints and asking what other capabilities do we have. This year, we're trying a pilot program with the use of some drones to identify some problematic areas, and we'll be using drones to identify houses that are using illegal fireworks, and then citations will be issued to those parties. So I'll touch more next month when we see how that plays out, but this is the first time that we're trying it. Some other cities have seen success in trying to curb the illegal fireworks use.
So a question actually did come up about that, so I'm glad you mentioned it. When the college area on the upper hillsides looks out at the Oxnard Plain, and there's a ton of fireworks going off on the Oxnard Plain, and I was at a meeting yesterday, and the question was, well, do the Ventura police go over to Oxnard? And I know jurisdictionally that's probably an issue, but what if you're right next to Oxnard, like if you're there?
We will not go into Oxnard, and some of that area also is under the jurisdiction of the sheriff's department. When you should get into the riverbed issues and Oxnard Police Department. So if it's in the city of Oxnard, we will not respond to those. We will only deal with Ventura Police, or I'm sorry, Ventura City issues. And in general, 4th of July is a very, very busy night. It's probably the highest volume of calls out of any day of the year in the communication center. So we'll have extra patrols out. We'll have extra patrols out in the Pierpont and beach areas, trying to curb illegal fireworks use on the beach. We'll also have extra vehicles driving around, responding to calls. And then, like I said, the pilot program of trying to use drones to identify more offenders to try to curb the illegal use.
I understand Oxnard also uses drones. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what Oxnard is doing, if they have in the past or if they're doing that this year. I know the officers last year issued a lot of citations out there in Oxnard, and I'm unaware if they used drones or not.
Okay.
Right, anything else?
That's all I have. Traffic's going to be pretty hectic this weekend with X Games. And then, of course, we've got the Push and Pull 'em parade and then the college fireworks. And my understanding, this will be the last year the college will be doing fireworks, is from what I'm being told. So not sure if there'll be another fireworks show either elsewhere at the fairgrounds or the harbor. But I believe this might be the last year at the college.
Well, luckily we have Vanessa Stotler here, and she's going to probably speak about that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get ahead or jump ahead. So,
well, maybe not. We'll see what she says. Okay. So I want to introduce Vanessa Stotler, who is the Marketing and Communications Manager with Ventura College. By the way, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Vanessa?
Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Apologize if my voice is super echoey. I'm in my old place and it's empty, so I apologize in advance if it's too echoey. But I also want to introduce our Vice President of Business Services and Business and Administrative Services, James Zavas, who is joining me today to talk a little bit about the housing project at Ventura College.
Hey everyone, nice to meet all of you virtually. Happy to join tonight. As I'm pretty sure everyone's aware, we are looking to start construction relatively soon, hopefully for our student housing project. We've recently selected an architecture team. It's actually 2 architecture firms that came in. One of them is Mithun. They're a very large firm that does a lot of student housing out of Los Angeles. And they've partnered with R&T, which is a local firm here in town, which we were very happy to see some local representation there. So right now we're just working through some of the final details on their contract. I mean, you can imagine a contract for a project this size is very large and complicated. And it's important that we make sure we get all that right. So once we get all that detailed and done, we will be getting started on the design phase of the project, which will be hopefully starting in late July. I think we'll start the design phase and that'll probably run around 3 or 4 months. So with the design phase, there will be what they call design charrettes. It's a whole new word for me, which is I think of it as a fancy word for a meeting. So it's basically the architects come, they come with picture boards and ideas and things like that, and they present ideas and solicit feedback on those ideas and hear what's important to people. And then they go back and take all of that feedback and revise their ideas and put it into something else and then bring it back. And we'll do probably 4 or 5 fairly large charrettes throughout the process. At least one of those we're going to make sure is very much community focused. And so, one of my thoughts was this was the right group to make sure we're bringing that to. And I don't know if it would be best to do it during a regular meeting, one of your regular meetings, or if we were to have a special meeting for that. So something along those lines would be great, and we can communicate. I know Vanessa probably knows the best way to communicate with you all. We're also hoping to put together, once we get things rolling, a website that will keep everybody in the loop on everything that's going on. So like I said, we'll have at least one that's a very specifically designed process to make sure that we're coming and getting feedback from the community on what's important to all of you. And you can see where we're at with the process. All of our charrettes will be pretty much open to the community as well. So we'll make sure we're posting those dates and times. I think it's very, very important that people are involved. So, that's kind of that opportunity for everyone to make sure that their voices are heard throughout the process. So that's really our update. We're hoping that we can maybe get it rolling. Once we get the design phase through, then they have to finish out the plans. Then it has to go through the whole approval process, which will be at minimum of a few months. So I don't know that we would be breaking ground until maybe next summer, where we're at. And again, that is very, very tentative. We're hoping to break ground as soon as we can. But like I said, that approval process to get the plans all the way through the agencies that review them and everything can be a lengthy process. So once we get a design, it will take some time before we even get going. But yeah, so that's really kind of where we're at with student housing. I'd be happy if anybody has any questions. Barbara, I see you.
But so I've been through the charrette process a number of times, and like for example, Botanical Gardens, we had 5 charrettes to get information from people about what they envisioned. So when you're talking about charrettes for student housing, are you talking about design, location, parking? Like, what are you actually looking for?
I can tell you it'll probably be mostly design, programmatic, things along those lines. The location is pretty much set on where it is. We do have a space that we have set aside for that. It's unlikely that we would move that space. The only other space we have, I imagine, would be unfavorable. Be right up at the top of the campus and right next to all the housing and everything right there. And that's just really not a great space for the student housing. So yeah, the space is pretty much set. I think any concerns or anything like that, we're always happy to hear them, and see what we can do. Parking, we may be limited on what we can do with parking, but that'll be something that we can definitely think about it.
Well, I had heard that you're expecting the students not to bring cars anyway, since there's transportation buses right there. Paula had a question. James.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, James.
Hi, Paula.
Hi. And Vanessa. So I have a couple of questions. So is the site still going to be by where the swimming pool was at?
Yes.
And how many stories will it be?
That we do not know yet. That'll be determined in the design phase. I think we've been preliminarily thinking right around 3. We are required to have 320 beds. To do that, we think we're probably going to have to do 3 stories based on the footprint there. My hope is that because of the topography of the campus and the way it's on that hill, that will put it at about the height of where the top of the bleachers and everything are at. That's, again, I'm ballparking that from an eyeball standpoint, but I'm thinking that would probably be about where it would end up being. I'm hoping we don't have to go into a 4th story because I don't want it to necessarily get that big.
So and parking is limited around there. So students will have cars. I don't know why some people are saying there's not going to be that many cars, but there will be cars. So I'm wondering, was there a fiscal impact made in terms of what the effect would be on the communities?
I'm not aware of anything necessarily specific to that.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy?
I just want to make a plug for saving the pool wall that has all of the statistics for every swimmer who's ever won anything for decades.
We have already brought that up with the architects, and we're not sure exactly what we're going to be able to do, but that is absolutely part of the plan.
Yay.
Like I say, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but there will be some way of memorializing that. And I don't know, Vanessa, if you have anything else. So I'm sure people have brought that up, but yeah, that is something we're aware of. We do think that it's important. So we're not sure exactly what that will look like because the wall will have to come down, but we'll do something to honor the fact that is there, memorializing all of that. And if we can repurpose it and move it, I would love to do that, or kind of repaint it in another location or something along those lines. Like I said, I don't know how we'll do it, but we will address it.
It's college history. It would be horrible to lose it.
Yes. Sorry, Vanessa, you're muted if you were trying to say something.
I was, thank you. And then if nobody has any other questions regarding the housing project, I just wanted to share some other updates from the college briefly, just to be careful with time. But on July 8th, we actually have our new president, Dr. Claudia Laurido Habib, which will be starting at Ventura College. So she brings her leadership over to us. And so we're very, very excited to bring her on board. Two other major updates. We had, I think, previous meetings, I had discussed a mural project, which is a contest we have running for our centennial. The original deadline was extended to August 2nd. So I just wanted to share that the mural contest deadline is now August 2nd. And so for any folks here who may have some artist friends or anybody who may be interested in entering the contest, we'd certainly love for them to enter in their designs to be considered. Another update that we have is just right around the corner in 2 days, and that is for the Ventura College Schwab Academy. We have applications and applications that are due on that date for the Schwab Academy that starts on July 1st. So for folks who are looking to sign up for that, June 28th, excuse me if I said July, June 28th is coming up as the deadline for that one. And finally, of course, as you guys are all aware, Ventura College, the Rotary Club is going to be hosting at Ventura College the 4th of July firework display. I will definitely be there with family to be able to enjoy. So hopefully I see a lot of you there, and we're always so happy to be able to host that at Ventura College for such an occasion. Does anybody have any questions for me before I turn it back to you?
Just reminded me, I wanted to jump back in on the fireworks thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So it is possible that this might be one of the last years we're able to host it because of the location where the thing gets shot off and the student housing. This did actually come up in a meeting with our foundation director the other day, and I would love to see if we can find ways to continue hosting it. So it's something that I think it's great to have it at the college and have that as part of the community. So if we can, it's something I'd like to continue with, but it's a matter of can we safely do it, both with construction going on and then also with housing and the location that it's at. So to be determined.
Great, thanks.
I think
Vanessa, you said there was a June 28 deadline for something, but I didn't catch what that something was.
Of course, it's Kathy, it's for the it's for the Schwab Academy. Excuse me.
So that's a music academy, correct?
That is correct. The music academy that we have at Ventura College that starts July 1st through the 21st. And it offers any student musicians the ability to join for those days during the summer for training as well as performance opportunities.
Great, thank you.
You also put, is it Dr. Savid? Your new chancellor's name in the chat?
Oh, our new president is Dr. Claudia Laurido Habib.
Could you put it in the chat?
Of course, absolutely.
We're not
Happy
going to be
cover
able to spell that. There's no way on the planet.
that. Absolutely. I will throw that in the chat for you.
Okay. Any other questions for either Vanessa or James? All right, well, thank you so much for coming tonight. We're very excited about the changes going on at the college. We know we need student housing, and my fingers crossed too that we can continue to host the fireworks. So thank you. All right, so next up, I'm introducing Heather Sumagaysay, who is our City of Ventura PIO, and she's going to talk about the X Games and the July 4th Street Fair. Heather?
Yes, good evening, everyone. And it's also really nice to be here and see so many friendly faces. Can you see my screen here, Barbara?
Yeah.
Okay, I brought a little slideshow just to help kind of navigate us through this a little bit. Being that we talked so much about 4th of July, I will just glaze over that information unless there's any questions that I can help answer. I want to say thank you so much to Bert for dropping in the chat the announcement about the pier. So yesterday we did a little press conference to help our media partners in sharing with the public the news that the pier will be reopening to the public on Saturday. The gates will open at 8:30. And they will be open. We have sustained about $3.3 million in damages. The pier has been closed since early 2023, just over a year and a half. We do anticipate receiving a large majority of funding to be reimbursed to the city through FEMA and state disaster funds. And the repair work has done a great job to restore the pier and stabilize it. One of the things that you may notice if you happen to go on the pier this weekend or potentially next weekend, we are continuing to make smaller improvements to the pier, including rehabbing the benches and the interpretive signs. Those are the signs on the pier that kind of show what you're looking at or some of the natural wildlife in the area. Those things are going to continue to be rehabilitated in the weeks to come, but we're just so excited to reopen the pier for our community and know how much that means for everyone. So with that, going into 4th of July, if you have any questions about what was asked already, we do maintain a 4th of July page on the city's website. If you go to the city's website, scroll to the bottom, you'll notice a 4th of July logo there, and all this information about parade and the fireworks show is there. Also, if you know anyone who is interested in volunteering, we still do have some volunteer opportunities available during the street fair, and there's information on how you can sign up there, and then people get free t-shirts who are willing to help volunteer. Our next city council meetings before council goes on break are July 9th and July 16th. Then council will go on break and then resume back in August. Next slide, X Games. So thank you so much, Kathy, for asking this question so I could share information with our community. If you are interested in attending, Sonic, the primary sponsor for X Games this year, did announce just recently a 25% off discount. That's the one that's on the screen there. Last week, 25. And Kathy, if you don't get all this stuff written down, don't worry. I'll PDF this PowerPoint and send it over to you too. But that, I believe, ends tomorrow night. Thursday night, it will expire at midnight. And one of the things that you have likely heard, and I hope everyone received the mailer that we sent out to all of our residents citywide, The city is offering a free parking ride shuttle. Those are the sites that are listed there. The one that is not free is State Beach. That'll be a $10. That'll be $10 to park there. And then the shuttle on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will run approximately every 15 minutes throughout the games. One of the great things that you can enjoy tomorrow night, and these are community events surrounding the X Games. Downtown Ventura, in the downtown area, will have some fun kids activities, a skate and create. There will be a skate jam. What the skate jam is last year there was like a half pipe dome and people did little tricks and stuff. Great way to get the family out in the community, enjoy this wonderful weather that we're having. Free event. And then there's a drone show in the evening. If you want to learn more about this, if you go to the city's website, we have an X Games dedicated webpage, and then we'll make sure to connect you to information related to traffic, related to parking, which we are encouraging at park and ride shuttle sites because there's no on-site parking, as well as community events that are happening and drone shows. So there are drone shows happening on Thursday night. I think last night it was the harbor. Tomorrow night is downtown. And then I believe Friday and Saturday night might be at the fairgrounds. With that, next slide, just to familiarize faces. We do send out news releases every time we announce new people to the community. But if you are curious, these are some of the new faces that have joined us at the city in the last couple of months, including Carlene, starting in that top left corner on the screen. She's our new assistant city manager. Tim Fisk, our building official. To the right of that, Stacy Zarzua. I know she's worked for the city for a great many years and very familiar face. We have Charlie Eveling. He's the bottom left corner of your screen. He's our new public works director. Rachel Diamond, our community development director. And then moving to the right side of the screen is Mike Schaefer, who's our new chief technology officer. General plan, just want to high level, just make you aware of this. I know there was discussion related to the designation map and some gaps or information that wasn't necessarily fully accurate there. So the latest design map is currently it's closed, but it's being updated. It will come back. And if you are on the Plan Ventura website, at the very bottom of the website, there is a link to sign up for the newsletter. That newsletter has somewhere to the tune of, I think, about 1,500 people subscribed to it, upwards of potentially 2,000. And then we maintain that newsletter and make sure to send out information. Anytime there's something to update from the community development director, or if there's a new phase or it's coming before city council. So that way we can keep our community informed of how they can see the changes, as well as if they choose to participate, how they can get involved and share their voices. So I know a new update will be coming here very soon in the month of, oh my goodness, we're in July. If it doesn't come out this week, I know we're looking to send out a next update message in early July for what's happening next. So if you're not currently subscribed, great way to get connected. Also, City now has a new podcast, Ventura Voices, and what you see up on the screen, and we actually have a third episode out there too, which is all about the X Games with Marlis Oster of Visit Ventura and Meredith Hart, our economic development manager. Ventura Voices, the intention in talking with Bill on this was really wanted to find a way to bring deeper, richer stories to the community for those who wanted to learn more about projects, initiatives, or what's happening, or even hot topic issues. This is a great way for us to connect directly with the leaders who are really well versed in that stuff, and then can also answer some tough questions. And these episodes that you see up on the screen, this is our first episode with Bill Ayub, and then our second episode was with Chief Schindler. Both of them are really great. What I personally love about the new podcast series is it's on Spotify and YouTube. It's also on Apple Music. It's streaming across all channels. The great thing about it is because of technology now, you can take it on your phone, and oftentimes YouTube and Spotify, for example, give you an option of listening to it in a sped up time frame. So you don't have to listen to it in a 1-to-1 ratio. You could listen to it on 1.5 speed if you choose. But it's kind of a great way to get through some more denser content, but really great stories. And then on the Ventura Voices page, we also have a button at the end that if you have ideas or topics that you really like to see us dive into, please share that with us. When I look to plan out what our content calendar looks like, and we're looking at about 2 to 3 episodes a month, those are things that we take into consideration. So please share that input and ideas. And then finally, last slide here. If you're not already subscribed to our Ventura Vibes newsletter, this is our community newsletter. We send it out every other week, so 2 times a month. I've got just about 11,000 plus subscribers on this one. We just sent out the latest newsletter today, and we'll resend it out on Friday as a reminder. But this is a great way to stay connected to kind of some of the more fun stories in the city, as well as the harder hitting stories. And really be in the loop on we look at this as of all the things that we are messaging constantly on social media or various pieces. We bring that all together in a kind of more digestible way to give people kind of top hits, and then they can click out if they want to dive into something a little further. The issue that we just sent out today talks about X Games, talks about our Ventura River Trail, talks about Marina Park. That's probably something that you all would love to know. Marina Park is looking to open in fall of 2024. You will see a project site sign go up in the area probably next week. And then we'll be doing some messaging, sharing what those park renderings look like and reopening that to community. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am open to taking any questions.
I know you're busy right now, so I want to thank you for making time for us this evening. I know things are spinning at the city at this moment, planning for all these events.
We've got a lot going on, but you know what? This is kind of why I love the job that I do. I love connecting with people, and I love seeing a lot of the faces on the screen that I get to see in meetings all the time. And hello to our council members on the screen too. They're the ones that had a very long night last night, so they definitely get a big thank you too for their service to the community.
Anybody have any questions? Heather's here. We need to let her go so she doesn't have another long evening.
Oh, it's okay. And hi, Jim. I see Jim waving hi to me.
I
just subscribed to the podcast.
I was just going to say, Heather, thanks for that great information. I think that this Ventura Voices would be a great place for Gina, not that I want her to do even more work, but to kind of explain what's going on with Ventura Water and have another medium to get that information out, because there's a lot of things happening. They're starting to happen pretty fast. And I think good information is better than information that isn't accurate, and she's the most accurate with that. So just a thought.
I very much appreciate that idea, Jim, and we'll even validate that with, guess what? We have our schedule to go in studio on Monday. So coming soon, that will be our next issue with council's action and guidance last night. We definitely want to lean into more education and awareness, and this will definitely be a helpful tool in those conversations ahead.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah, after last night's meeting, I think it's really important for residents to know what's coming their way. People need to be prepared. I mean, we all know water's going to get more expensive, but last night was a reality check.
And then another episode that is actually we're looking to put together at the end of this month too, going to what Commander Brown was saying at the beginning of the meeting, is related to e-bikes. So we are looking at putting together some outreach components too, so we can help in that area as well, as we see it as a growing need of concern.
How is it going downtown with the e-bike ban? Are people cooperating?
Kathy, as you can imagine, it's hit and miss. There are sometimes yes, and there are sometimes no. We've recently seen some accidents happen throughout our community, and best intentions with e-bikes, but they come with, you put an electric vehicle that can go 30 to 35 miles in the hands of our youth. I know we all remember what it was like to be young and fearless. So it creates a series of challenges, and that's why working with our PD department, we definitely want to look at how we can help educate people and bring awareness to that to protect our youth, as well as potentially help them understand the dangers associated with e-bikes.
Yeah, I don't want to see a horrible accident, which I have seen kids going so fast on Loma Vista that I'm just waiting for there to be a horrible accident.
All right, well, thank you, Heather. I really appreciate it. As always, you're so informative, and you bring a lot to the table. Next, we're going to move on to College Area Community Council business and announcements. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet just because we're a little bit behind schedule, which is very unusual for us. So first, I want to share the news that CACC is planning on partnering with Midtown Community Council for a candidate forum. I know that a lot of you saw on your agenda that we had planned a date, but due to a number of different things, instead of having our own forum, we're going to partner with Midtown, and which is great because the two districts cross a little bit. Secondly, I think enough has been said about the fireworks, so I'm not going to talk about that. I do want to take a moment and thank the following members of CACC who have generously donated to keep our organization strong. It is particularly important right now as we have some costs coming up in the next few months. So thank you so much, Sam Fang, Bob Shilpin, Daniel Zoll, Douglas McCormick, Ann Houston, Jim Ackerman, and Dina Rogers. Without your help, we would not be able to cover the costs of our organization. I also know a number of you, quite a few of you are consistent audience members, and a number of you donate significant time to the organization. So thank you. Lastly, the city of Ventura is seeking residents who live near an STVR to be a part of an ordinance review of STVRs. So if you live next to an STVR, or if you know someone who lives next to an STVR, if you either want to reach out to me at barbarabrownventura@gmail.com or Monica De La Hoya, who's our assistant city attorney, probably best to reach out to me, but partly because I don't have the contact info, but yeah, they want, we're going through a ordinance review, and they want input from people who are affected by STVRs in both a positive and negative way. So it doesn't have to be necessarily somebody who's angry. I do also want to mention really quickly, there are a lot of people who aren't aware that we do have ordinances already in place, and those ordinances include parking, noise, and number of people at an STVR. So I know there's a lot of people who think we have no ordinances. We already have ordinances in place. We're just trying to tighten up our ordinance so it's a little bit stronger. All right, so next up, I want to introduce Amy Bailey Jurewicz from the Ventura YMCA. Amy?
Thank you so much, Barbara. It is nice to see so many familiar faces. Hello. Karen and Turner Clark. I was like talking about senior programming. They can probably take over the presentation for me. But I did want to thank you for having me tonight. This sounds like a group I probably need to be connected with a little bit more, considering how long I've been here with the Y. But I am the executive director here at the Ventura YMCA, and I have been here for almost 20 years. About 12 of those have been with the executive director of the facility. And so tonight, just want to kind of highlight maybe a little bit of historical information for those of you that might not be as familiar with the Y, but then a little bit about the programming that we do. And Eric, I'm so glad to hear that your kids are in camp at the Y too, because so are mine. And so are a lot of kiddos right now around town. So we've got them all day long. But just to highlight a little bit about our YMCA. So the Ventura YMCA was actually organized in 1887 here in the city of Ventura. And so we are a very long lasting nonprofit organization that's been serving the city for about 137 years. And basically our responsibility is youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. And if it's not in one of those three wheelhouses, we like to think that it's not our area of specialty and we'll let somebody else take care of that. But one of the really cool pictures that I just wanted to share with you all that you'll probably recognize is the old Mound School. And that's where the YMCA was actually located in about the 50s. And so we had that location and then ended up selling that location to acquire the current building that we're in right now. So just kind of evolved through the city of Ventura. So in 1887, we were founded. In 1888, there's a very interesting story about how we obtained the property on the corner of Santa Clara and Oak Street. But there was apparently a grave robber from the history that I read, and he was kicked out of town, and the YMCA was given his home, which was very nice for us. So a little historical fact there. But in 1919, we were actually in one of the hotels using some of their rooms for meetings. And then we were actually on top of Ventura High School, excuse me, using one of those rooms as a location as well. And then in the 40s, we had a log cabin that was across from the old Mound School. We had the Mound School. And then we also developed a camp in Pine Valley Camp in the 40s as well. We have some great historical photos of all of these locations. In 52, purchased the Mound School, and then in 81, purchased the current location that we're at now. And the reason why I share this with you is because this kind of showcases the evolution of the YMCA and how we keep growing as the city and the community needs keep growing. And we're actually at a pivotal point right now as far as space utilization within our Y. So what is the YMCA? In case you do not know, we're a leading nonprofit committed to strengthening the community, potentially looking at all people from all different backgrounds and making sure they have a safe place to be, to learn, grow, and thrive. And so again, we talk about youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility being the three areas of focus for our organization. So who are we today? Right now, we are a nonprofit that is partnered with over 30 community organizations within our city. We have about almost close to $5 million budget, which when I started here, it was just a little over 2 million. So to see that kind of growth in budget size has been tremendous. Our doors are open to all, regardless of ability to pay. We scholarship a lot of individuals, a lot of money to make sure that they can join here at the YMCA and enjoy not just membership, but programs. Currently, we've got about 6,500 facility members. 25% of those members are on scholarship right now, which is subsidy helping them to pay for the programs and the memberships that they're utilizing. In addition to those 6,500 people, we also have an additional 2,200 people that just take programs here at the YMCA. And that could either be here or like Eric mentioned, some of our offsite camps that we have as well that we do on offsite locations within the school district. This year is a historical year for us as far as the money that we are giving out into the community, and we're almost at $500,000 in subsidies and free programs that we're giving out in the community, and we're super proud of that. We fundraise for that money, or we generate it through our operations, and we're literally handing it out as quick as we can bring it in. And right now, we're sustaining the needs of what we're seeing, so that's good news. Just so you know, we run 4 off-site childcare centers as well. The main facility, which some of you might notice, sometimes we're tucked down in the hill, is right next to Anacapa Middle School. That facility is about 28,000 square feet. And so we do all of these operations mainly out of this facility here. And then I like to say that we serve ages 3 months all the way up to 99 plus, as long as we can keep them here. And we actually have group exercise instructors that are well within their 90s as well. So we're kind of proud of that. As far as programming, we've got health and wellness programming. We've got away camps that we run. We've got after school childcare that I mentioned, youth programs. And I actually, since Barbara, you asked, I put senior programming on a separate slide so I can share that a little bit with the group. But I would say I'm most proud of is the outreach and the cause-driven programs that we do. We have a cancer survivor program called Live Strong here at the YMCA, where cancer survivors come here to get back to what we call their new norm. And we put them with our trainers for free to help them get back into a healthy lifestyle after a lot of the treatments that they go through. And so that's a real pivotal one that we do. Third grade Learn to Swim, which we now just call Learn to Swim, is an outreach initiative with the school district where we go to schools, a lot of Title I, and we give free swim lessons to those students. Operation Ventura is an outreach initiative that we do with children that are homeless or in transitional living or foster care, and they get free programs to come here to the YMCA to take whatever programs that they want to choose. And then we have Open Doors, which is a kind of signature program for all YMCAs. And that's really our scholarship program where we're handing out scholarship dollars to individuals to help them to be able to afford to be here, or then just completely scholarshiping it all together if the need is there as well. So just to give you a little snippet on our Open Doors, we have a sliding scale that we use to scholarship individuals in the community. It is campaign funded, which means that we fundraise for the scholarship dollars that are given out. So if you ever hear of the YMCA annual campaign, some of you are actually donors that are on here tonight, but that is what that is for, and that's what the money funds. Over $25,000 a month is scholarship out for individuals in need, close to $342,000, and this is just membership scholarships. This has nothing to do with the programs that we give scholarships to. We have about 492 membership units on scholarship currently right now. And Operation Ventura, these are, I'm not going to read through them. I want to save you guys some time because I know you're on a time crunch, but these are some of our community partners that we work with to hand out vouchers to individuals to come to the YMCA for free. So we're really proud about the partnership. I feel like we need to do more of that in our community, is do what we all do best and come together to try to serve the community. And I think that that's an area that we could probably look at as a whole. Operation Ventura, this is what it provides. It gives the kids 6 to 8 week lessons and then youth programs. As far as aquatics and sports, this is our listing. I don't have to go over it. We do a ton of youth programs here within our facility. We alone in the next 8 weeks, just in swim lessons, will serve over 800 kids here out of our facility, teaching them how to swim. So basketball, soccer, all the sports that you can possibly imagine, we do. And so our senior offerings, I know this is one that Barbara, you wanted to hear a little bit more about. We have a free senior swim program. This is actually a partnership with the city of Ventura, where we offer free senior swim times to residents to be able to come into the YMCA and swim in our pools, or take any of our water aerobics classes. We also have adult swim lessons for seniors, free wellness coaching for seniors, therapy pool, which a lot of the seniors absolutely love. Our strength equipment is set up for seniors. We have senior TRX, older active adult group exercise, Zumba Gold, Silver Sneakers, senior spin, which is a great program that we just started. A lot of people are really intimidated by spin classes, which is a cycle class, and we started a senior spin class. And then we also have yoga classes for our seniors. Some challenges just to highlight and kind of where we see ourselves right now. I mean, my main priority in my job is to make sure that the YMCA stays here for another 137 years. But to do that, we always face some challenges and we have to evolve. The rise in scholarship needs are on our radar right now. We were literally scholarshiping 3 years ago before the pandemic around 300,000, and that has gone to almost $500,000 within those couple of years. And so that's been a tremendous growth need. Growing our adaptive programs. If you know individuals who have children or adults with special needs, there aren't a lot of programs in the city to be able to accommodate those individuals. And we have started new adaptive programs here at the Y. And why is that challenging? Because there's not a lot of individuals doing it. And so we have a lot of people coming to us for those services. And so we are trying to find ways to expand. And we just started a partnership with Tri-Counties, and they are actually sending individuals here, and Tri-Counties is funding some of their programs, which is great. So we have a growth kind of need there. Another challenge is facility space and outdoor recreation space within the city of Ventura. And I don't know if you guys have heard any of those challenges within the city, but we definitely have challenges trying to figure out where we hold all of these programs at. With 28,000 square feet, we're just not big enough to accommodate it all on our own. So we try to go out into the community. And then parking. If any of you have driven by the YMCA at a main peak time, you have noticed that we are now parking on the street. All of our staff are on the street, and our members are trying to find parking spaces. So that has become something that's on our radar as well. So that's a little bit about the Y. I hope I've kept us on time, and I am happy to take any questions that you all might have.
Do you have a slide of the senior programs you mentioned? I was scribbling as fast as I could and I couldn't keep up.
Yes, you guys didn't even see my presentation, did you?
No.
I am so sorry. I'll send it to you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I had said it shared it, but clearly it didn't.
I also wanted to put a plug in for your, young children's Learn to Swim program. I've had my granddaughter in that for like a year and a half, and I'm so impressed at the quality of the program. It really teaches these little young ones who can barely speak how to move across the pool in water. And they can barely speak, and they have no fear of drowning at all.
Yeah.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you. I am so sorry that this didn't share. Hopefully you can see the senior listing right now. It says it's sharing now, so I don't know if you can see my screen again. No?
No.
Man, I am striking out left and right with you guys tonight. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. I did have a presentation. So this will list out all the senior activities, and this isn't even all-encompassing. We have a ton more activities that happen here at the Y, but this will at least give you a little snippet.
Yeah, great. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions or anything I can answer for you all?
What are the monthly membership fees? What is the cost?
So if you're looking at just a regular adult membership rate, it's $50 for the month. But again, we have open doors, and so we help individuals to pay for that fee if that fee is too high for them.
Is there a senior discount or?
I think seniors are at 47 off the top of my head.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Amy? Okay, well, Amy, thank you so much. You are a great, your organization is a great asset for our community, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Amy, yeah, you're gonna have to take there you go. Thank you very much. All right, so next I want to introduce Grace Mooney, who is with the Ventura Music Festival. I was lucky enough to work with the festival in the past. It is a great organization. And she is our Festival Media and Outreach Director. Grace?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you this evening. Hi, Doug. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what we have coming up for our festival season this summer. There's a lot of great shows coming up, and there's also a new youth program offering that we are putting forward actually during the same dates as the festival. So we're kind of bringing it in as a festival offering. So I'm going to share a little presentation with you. So our 29th season, as Barbara mentioned, we have been around for close to 30 years. Technically, we were founded in 1994, but thanks to good old 2020, we did miss a festival season. So our 30th season will be next year in 2025. And so we are celebrating our 29th this year. We're kicking it off with a kids summer camp. This is going to be held in 2 different sessions, one in at Namba Arts in Ventura, and then the other at Ojai Underground Exchange up in Ojai. So registration is currently live for this. There's a lot more information about it on the website, venturamusicfestival.org/music matters. But I'm available to answer questions afterward as well. So that's going to be our first event that's kicking off this summer, closely followed by our festival kickoff concert, which is going to be Michael Cleveland and Flame Keeper. For those of you who've never heard of Michael Cleveland, he has an incredible story. He was born blind and had a fever as a child and went mostly deaf, and has now gone on to become one of the best fiddle players on the planet. And seeing is believing. I'm going to show you a little video clip at the end of our artists. It's just a couple minutes long, but it'll give you a little taste of what's coming up. Following Michael Cleveland, we're hosting the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra, and that's going to be a very wonderful show for anybody who is a fan of Bach. They're going to be bringing us the Brandenburg Concertos as part of their presentation that night. And we actually have a little bit of a Bach through line. So for those of you who are ready to Bach, it's going to be a good festival for you. Next, on July 27th, we have Caleb Teicher and Conrad Tao. This is a really unique and enthralling combination of artists. I guarantee you haven't seen anything like it before. Caleb Teicher is a celebrated choreographer who owns his own studio in New York City, and Conrad Tao is a celebrated Clyburn pianist, and the two of them have collaborated to create something that must be witnessed in a compilation of tap and classical piano. They are very funny. They have great chemistry on stage, and there will be a lot of fun surprises. That one was a big highlight last year, and we were asked over and over again to bring them back. So if you missed them last year, don't miss them this year. We have a brunch matinee. This is going to be the gentleman on the left with our violin here. That's our artistic director, Navi Mehta. And he's going to be doing a concert and lecture alongside Greg Anderson, who is a renowned pianist and composer. And the two of them will be bringing us a concert and lecture following a very yummy optional brunch that will be held right before that. Many of you may recognize our lovely local Perla Bataya. She was made famous when she started singing as a backup singer for Leonard Cohen many years ago, and she has since gone on to have a very successful independent career. So she'll be singing some old favorites and some of her old music as well. And she is an Ojai local. On the second Saturday, we have Jason Vio and Julian Lebreau. This is another duo that are going to take us on a Latin-inspired journey with classical guitar and accordion. And finally, closing the festival, we have the highly anticipated return of Anderson and Rowe. This duo has been offering piano recitals that defy description. They sometimes do dueling pianos, they sometimes play the same piano, but they are both masterful artists, and they have a really fantastic performance to bring for us. So I'm going to end on a high note and just give you a quick look. I'm hoping that the sound also shares. Will somebody give me a thumbs up if you are hearing the sound when I hit play? No sound? Let's see. Share computer sound. Look at that. All right.
No, he was perhaps poeticizing Plato, who wrote, "For now we find that the force of the good has taken up refuge in an alliance with the nature of the beautiful, for measure and proportion manifest themselves in all areas of beauty and virtue. The perception of beauty tunes us to truth."
But I swear by this song and by all that I have done wrong, I will make it all up to thee.
So there's a little preview of what we have coming up, and I will be happy to answer any questions. I do want to journey back briefly to the summer camp and let you know that if you have youth that are interested in participating in this program, it is aimed at ages 11 through 20, and our education consultant is going to break down some age groups within that and skill and ability levels. And we do have scholarships available. We received some underwriting from a very generous donor. And so if anybody is looking at it and concerned about the price, the session price is $7.99 per week. So it's the idea is that kids are doing only one of the 2 weeks. Please know that we do have scholarships available, and we are ready to work with community members who may not be able to access this program generally, so that we can make sure that as many youth as want to experience music summer camp get to be there and registered for it. In addition to the summer camp, we also do have a series of student tickets available at very discounted rates. One of our big pushes in the community is to subsidize our ticket funding or our ticket pricing using our funding from donors, so that all of our ticket prices are much lower than you would see for similar venues and artists in the area. So we're hoping to really bring forward the accessibility of these varied and diverse genres of music, and hopefully everyone gets to experience something really new and exciting this year. So more information is on the website. My name is Grace again, and if you would like to follow up with me, ask any questions, find out anything else about tickets, please feel free to send me an email, and I will also drop my contact information in the chat. All right, I'm happy to answer questions.
I have a quick question, Grace. That was a really nice presentation you just made, showing both the music and also the players. Is that on your website?
Yes, there is the preview video is on the landing page of the website, and then below that there is a series of boxes that display all the artists that are coming up, and you can go to each individual artist's page and view more music samples, read more about their music, see some photos. So there's a pretty comprehensive coverage page for each artist, so you can explore more.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else?
That was great.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be a really wonderful series.
And you can purchase tickets on the website, I assume?
That's correct. Yes. Tickets can be purchased on the website. And if you want any assistance selecting seats, just call the number on the website and you'll get me.
If you buy every program, like the series, is that discounted, or they're just sold by each performance?
We are looking at launching a season subscription model next year in our 30th year. We don't currently have one set up, but if you want to get in touch with us and give us some feedback on that, we are trying to build that structure right now. And we do have some donor packages available that might entice you depending on how much you were going to spend on tickets. It may behoove you to take a look at the donor levels because those often include VIP tickets and lots of extra perks. So if you're thinking you might come to everything, I would check out the donate page on our website as well. And we have all of those benefits listed in a table so you can see, how many tickets you would get for what level of donation. And the math actually may work in your favor there.
Thank you for
Hi,
the
Jim. I see you.
presentation. It was exciting. I want to go now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, Jim, I saw you raised your hand.
Yeah, quick question. I was daydreaming. Where do these events take place again, please?
Oh, great question. So our kickoff concert with Michael Cleveland, the bluegrass player, and his band, that's going to be at Olivas Adobe Historical Park. And that one's going to be very fun outdoors. We've got a dance floor. We've got some food trucks coming in, beer and wine. That's going to be a nice little summer outdoor party. And then the other shows will be held at the Ventura College Performing Arts Center on Loma Vista Road.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Great job, Grace. You represent us well.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace. We hope to see you again next year. And I, too, am very excited about the performances this year. I can't wait to go. Okay, so before we move on, so we went from being behind schedule to ahead of schedule. So I just wanted to check with the other executive board members and see if they had any additional announcements before we move on to our city council presentation. Dina, Eric, Kathy, anyone?
I just want to echo Barbara's thanks to our donors, and we appreciate your contributions.
Okay, so guess what, Doug? So I do want to say one thing really quickly. So this will be Doug's last presentation because our bylaws do not allow us to have board, elected officials speak while they're in the middle of a campaign. And so Doug is going to speak tonight. Thank you very much, Doug. And then Mike Johnson has generously offered to speak and give the city council reports while Doug is running the campaign.
Excellent.
Doug?
That's fantastic. I'm happy to be here. It's great to see everybody again. And especially, as I mentioned, to see so many qualified people on many different parts of our community that are really making this community everything that we love. And I'm very proud of the music festival in particular, in that I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Board of Conveners years ago. And seeing 29 years of this fantastic asset is absolutely amazing. And the quality of our staff has just continued to soar. So thanks again, Grace, for your presentation. And from a city council standpoint, I wanted to also mention that, when I was elected 3.5 years ago, things were pretty different between COVID, between all the openings and staff, and the number of new people on the executive team. What I'm seeing being created right now at City Hall is extremely exciting. I feel that we're creating staff or city managers putting together an executive team that is very cohesive, very talented, very much represent the values that a lot of us know Ventura to be and Ventura to want. And so I find it to be a very, very exciting time. And so, It's going to take some time to continue working toward building trust, building transparency, and making sure that everybody knows that their voice is being heard, and that if you need somebody at City Hall, they are there to help. They're there to help us go through our processes, to answer the needs that we have with our properties or businesses or just daily lives, or using our parks or using golf courses or whatever that may be. So I'm very ecstatic at the direction that I see our city manager taking. Just wanted to start with that. Along with that, I wanted to go right into some of the things that have gone on in the last month, really. One of which is the city did receive $30 million grant from the Bureau of Reclamation towards the water pier and wastewater treatment. So that's a good start. It does make us eligible for many other rounds of funding coming from the Bureau of Reclamation. And early on, I will say this is, with the changes of staff at City Hall early on, when a lot of us ended up in that League of Cities conference in Washington, D.C., the reality is that we were asked to be there by our city manager and city attorney in order to represent the city council to these departments to try to get grants for the water pier and wastewater system. And so it's really neat to see those activities and that outreach come to fruition, and to see us start getting money from the federal government to help cover the needs of our future water needs and wastewater treatment facilities, because it's a very costly endeavor. The budget was approved last night. We had 32 items on our agenda. Many of them were consent, but that doesn't mean much, because we often pull items off consent for a lot of reasons and have conversations about that. But we did approve the budget. It's a balanced budget. What I would be looking for as time moves on, and we go to the next budgeting season over the next 9 months or so, or 10 months before we start the next season, is instead of, I've seen for 38 years, I've seen Ventura constantly looking at whatever revenues are coming in and figuring out how do we actually provide the services and the upkeep of our maintenance of our infrastructure and that we need as a community. And too often that conversation involves, what are we going to cut? What are we going to postpone? Our roads are definitely showing the deferred maintenance that's gone on for many, many years. And I'm happy to say that our current budget has put millions more dollars towards fixing our roads. But we need many, many years of that to bring them up to the standards that I think we all would want. I would hope to see that conversation changes from what are we going to be eliminating or reducing, but actually changing to a new paradigm where we're actually looking at how do we change that equation? How do we offer a much more prosperous future for our community, but do it in a way that absolutely enhances what we love about our city? Because I truly believe we can have both. We could have a prosperous future, offer an opportunity for our youth to be able to stay put and spread their roots here in Ventura, and create a much more prosperous future that allows us the finances that we need in order to have the quality of life in our community. And it's about leveraging dollars. It's about looking strategically on things that Venturans would want to see happen in our community and how those things might aid the economic vitality of our community. As you know, I think I mentioned last time that one of the studies recently validated yet again that by far the majority of the workforce in Ventura commutes outside of Ventura for work. And it sure would be nice if we bring those companies back to Ventura, to one of California's original cities. And instead of clogging our freeways, leaving for work every morning, actually having people be able to drive to downtown or to some of our corridors and go to work here in Ventura, and then frequent our restaurants and our stores during the lunch hours and in free time. So that's just an open comment about the budgeting process and what I hope to see become a different conversation as we move forward. Um, let's see. My writing's always a little bit hard in the dark here. Oh, well, I think Heather did a very thorough job in answering or mentioning some of the really exciting things. A lot of us initially, they didn't think they could get the pier open until September. And it's really exciting to see that not only is it opening for the X Games, it's opening for our summertime and summertime enjoyment. And so I'm looking forward to being there at 8:30 on Saturday for the official reopening of the pier. And there's many events associated with the X Games. So I hope that you all get a chance to participate. I know tonight is the first drone exhibit. There's going to be twice as many drones in the air this year than there was last year. And it's going to be shown over the harbor. But I bet you if you go up on the hillside anywhere in Ventura, you will probably see them. Okay. And then tomorrow night, the drones will appear again from the entrance of the Botanical Gardens above City Hall. So you'll be able to see them from that perspective as well. The fair is about ready to start on July 31st to August 11th. And it's the 150th anniversary of our fair. So I'm looking forward to it. They have a great lineup of music. As we talk about the music festival, we talk about the fair and the musical lineup that's there. We talk about the live music that exists in downtown and what I know Rubicon's been doing with Ventura Live. And then I talk about Ventura Music Hall. Ventura is known across this country as one of the live music capitals. So it's quite amazing being here 38 years and seeing the transformation and the appreciation of the cultural arts and what quality of life they offer our community. And on that point, just know that for many reasons, I'm a strong believer in the cultural arts. It connects to that common human denominator that makes all of us realize we're all part of the same world, the same community, regardless of our ideologies or beliefs or color of our skin or who we may vote for president or not. Okay, so it's just, it's a great way to build community and unify people and bring people together. And we also know that things like the cultural arts, by many different studies, will deliver $7 to $16 back for every dollar spent on the cultural arts. That money will be returned back to our community. And so that's one of those economic multipliers that should be looked at and could be looked at, not just for quality of life, but for building prosperity that we need to have the funds to fix our roads, to underground utilities, to have broadband, to get people off the streets and find services for them in new housing projects. So it's all very connected. I wanted to mention also about Main Street Moves. Main Street Moves, we're currently looking at the scoping of the environmental impact study that would be conducted next. That will give downtown and the merchants and the property owners an opportunity to leave Main Street closed or open Main Street and anything in between. So right now we're set to keep Main Street closed until January, I believe it is. And hopefully it gives us a chance to have a summer, hopefully with beautiful sunny weather, where we could all celebrate community and frequent our restaurants and storefronts and spend our money here in Ventura and not have to leave to go to Santa Barbara, LA, or elsewhere. I wanted to, let's see, there was a water line break, as I think some of you know, especially those of you in the Clear Skyline area, that BU Barbara. I don't know if you felt it up there, but it was on June 17th at 1:45 a.m. It was a 16-inch water line. There was a request for people to boil their water for, I think, for a day or two, and then that warning expired, and they had fixed the problem fairly quickly. I wanted to mention that on the west side, the Westview Village Phase 2, if you remember, there used to be Ventura's, I believe, original low-income housing projects were there. And it's turned into a really beautiful neighborhood. And what the phase 2 grand opening of 50 units began just last week. So 50 units of affordable and low income units, and really an aesthetically beautiful community. So it's been great to see that happen. I wanted to mention something that I've personally been witnessing and following is Southern California Edison. Is you see a lot of the trucks. I think they were out there blocking Poli Street during the Strawberry Festival, which despite that turned out to be not quite the traffic jam that we saw a year ago. So it was definitely done a whole lot better than what we saw last year. But unfortunately, Southern California Edison did turn Poli Street into a stopping situation where there was only one lane of traffic each way for most of the day. And that's because what they're doing is they're putting new shielded cable that is more difficult to spark if broken or affected by high winds during a high fire season. And they're also putting shields up around the connectors on the poles. It's great. It's another way for us to not experience what we did 6.5 years ago again. It's just one more step in the right direction. I'm a little disappointed in seeing how much those new shields and that cable shows. It's making the lines a lot more obvious. I'm hoping they fade over time, but it is making it look a lot more obvious. But I think for the sake of not experiencing what we did 6.5 years ago, it's a great step in the right direction. And let's see, I think those are the main points. I want to leave a couple minutes just in case there's some questions for me.
So, yes. So thanks, Doug. I know there's going to be questions. I'm going to let, I have one and then I'm going to let Jim talk. But
Okay.
So did the Rubicon get funded?
I had to leave the room. I recused myself. I don't have a financial stake in the matter, so there was no financial conflict of interest. But obviously, with my passion, my belief in Rubicon, and having founded it with Carolyn Burns and stuff, it was the right thing for me to do, is recuse myself out of the room. But what I heard from the back room was that it appears my colleagues suggested $100,000 funding for Rubicon. Most indoor arts, just so you know, suffered greatly, as we all know, I think, through COVID. Over 50% of the theaters across the country shuttered and have not come back. We're very, very lucky to have the leadership, mainly the board and Carolyn Burns and Jim O'Neill, the real brains behind Rubicon, making it happen so we could still have this fantastic asset in our community. And everything I said earlier applies to the music festival as well as it applies to Rubicon. Rubicon and New West Symphony are two of the anchors of the cultural arts in our county. And Rubicon's come a long way at making it much more sustainable. The county helps support Rubicon. The state has did a line item for Rubicon. We wouldn't be able to continue those without the city showing the same type of support. And so I'm very honored that my colleagues chose to at least offer $100,000 to go towards helping make sure that Rubicon stays here. So, yes.
Is that what Rubicon asked for?
Rubicon asked for the same thing that the museum had gotten, which was about $1 million over a 5-year period. And that still could be a possibility as we move forward. Ventura is always cash strapped. It always has been. So it's really a matter of looking at the budget and what trade-offs there will be. I see an opportunity, as I mentioned before, that when you support the cultural arts, we know the studies from Cal State Channel Islands, from the state of California, that $7 to $16 for every dollar you spent gets returned to that community. So the issue last night, from my perspective, although I couldn't speak, was the fact that is it the $6 million a year as a minimum that Rubicon generates for this community? Is it worth spending $100,000 to make sure that that 6 million continues to flow into our community? And that 6 million very well might truly be 16 million and not just 6, but call it 6. Was it worth $100,000 of taxpayers, hard-earned taxpayers' dollars to do that? And I'm happy to hear that my colleagues felt that was the way to go. Did that answer your question, Barbara?
Yeah, I answered my question really well.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Jim talk because we do want to talk about water tonight. So Jim.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Oh, I'm not here to talk about water. Good evening, Doug.
Okay.
I'm popped out on water. I did have a question. Is Chief Ndaya going to return to council and give council an update of the addition of the new 2 squads with additional staffing? Is that helping him better manage his workload and possibly resolve the issue of Station 7? Or, where, is that working? Is it going to make things better?
Yeah, I believe we're getting an update after our break. Councilmember Johnson might know better exactly what meeting that's in. But what I do know is this, and I'm very excited about it. The 2 departments that I feel I've spent, 3 departments I've spent a huge amount of my own time to understand as thoroughly as I can. One is community development, because everything begins and ends in community development. 2 is the fire department, because there's a lot of things that I truly didn't understand. When 73% of our calls are medical, and yet we have to send engines out every time when we know they're medical, I just didn't understand that thought process. I'd be happy to tell you that what I've heard from the firefighters directly and from Chief Ndaya is the medic squads are working phenomenal. They're probably the best change that we've seen in years to the fire department, and which means a cost savings to our citizens, and yet without any reduction of service. So that's one more step in the right direction. We know that the most over-impacted station is Station 2 on Seaward. So the whole concept of, as you probably remembered, I begrudgingly supported a temporary site at Alexandra. I don't believe personally, from my knowledge and studies, that that's going to be the permanent site of something. But we needed to make sure our the 13 fire safe firefighters that we got through a $7.3 million grant had a place to be, so that we have a chance to keep them, as opposed to double bunking and causing issues at the existing fire stations where they're already pretty cramped. Along with that, if it can help reduce the load on Station 2 by being so close to Station 2, that means all of the backfill that's coming from all the other stations every time Station 2 goes out on a call can be reduced as well. So it's a good temporary fix as we look at the true future placements of all the fire stations as we move forward. Our city is built out. All we could do at this point is try to maximize in a way that is acceptable to all of us, our corridors, our downtown, and the individual parcels that we have, while we hopefully create park space and other open space to make it a much more livable space than what it is already even today. So now it's about where is the appropriate places for our fire stations to be, given our fire stations are all very, very old.
Thank you very much, Doug.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Kathy, did you have a question? Kathy?
I was just going to make a comment about, I was just 100,000 for the Rubicon. As I understand it, I know you were out of the room, Doug, but as I understand it, the city is asking for a similar relationship with the Rubicon that they have with the museum, where there is sort of mutual back scratching going on. Rubicon gets city money if Rubicon puts on programs or lets the city use the facilities in some way. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kath,
I'm not sure how that would work, but that was the conversation.
the issue is really that that's exactly correct from what I heard from the back of the room. And it looked, we've had other examples. We had, when the music festival first started, there was a $500,000 seed money that got reduced every year for 5 years until the music festival got its feet grounded. And the same thing with the museum. When the museum fell in hard times, the city came in and basically they offered the services that it takes to run a museum, which is the city can use the space that is owned by the city at any time. They will have the staff there. They'll run the Alpinger Museum and open that back up. They had other requirements like that. Same thing with CAPS. When CAPS got started, the city funded that as well. So it's not an unusual situation when the private sector creates a nonprofit asset that absolutely benefits the community in a way that the city could never have done. It's a very common thing that cities do, and it's happened over and over in the city of Ventura. So I'm happy for my colleagues again for considering that opportunity.
Mike?
Oh, Mike, I say.
Yeah, hi. I was in the room. Yeah, you have the right of it. I wanted to make something clear on why there has to be some mutual back scratching, some tit for tat. The city can give money away as part of a granting program when it's a competitive granting program. And we have competitive granting programs. We do that through the Cultural Arts Commission. It's different when the city identifies some outside organization and decides to give them money, because if we weren't getting the value in return, it would constitute a gift of public funds, and that would be highly illegal. And so what we need to do is work with the Rubicon to figure out what we can buy from them for $100,000. And so that's why it works the way it is. If it were to be no strings attached, there's no such thing as no strings attached. But if we wanted to not require something of the Rubicon, it would have to be it would have to be some sort of competitive granting program. And obviously council just sort of wasn't opening it up to that. We just wanted to help out the Rubicon.
Thank you very much for that too, Councilmember Johnson. And I wanted to mention though that the one thing that Rubicon does give is what I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and that's it really comes down to theaters that are funded across the world, and especially across our country. If you look at the 50% that made it through COVID, they had one thing in common. They all had four legs of the stool for funding. That's government funding, foundation funding, sponsorship funding, and ticket funding. Rubicon has never had that first one. The city has gone from funding $90,000 a year for granting, which allows maybe 5,000, maybe 10, in this case 13,000, to go to the largest organizations. And whereas 15 years ago and many years prior to that, there was $250,000 granted. So the city has gone far away from granting money to the arts. If you take that $250,000 and extrapolate what that should have been today's dollars, it's probably $600,000 or $700,000 instead of $90,000. So the real answer was, what does Rubicon give to the city? We give a minimum of $5.3 to $16 million in returned economic vitality and revenue to the city of Ventura by existing. If we didn't exist, that money would go away. Any other question?
I do have one. Big, huge topic last night at City Council, and we have about 10 minutes left. Can you go over the water, the water challenges and decisions made last night at City Council?
Let's see. There's 3 different topics. They're all involving water pure and the outtake. and the advanced treatment facility for the water pure system. This is by far the largest project the city's ever embarked on. And I think what has got so many of us thinking and rethinking and scrambling and losing sleep over is that the project has ballooned exponentially from where it started 14 years ago. So it's about containing costs and what's the value to our community. I will tell you this, there's a book that somebody loaned me, Barbara, that I read on, about every 10 to 15 years, I take a trip like I did, and I was on a plane for a very long time. So I read that book cover to cover in one of the legs of that flight. And I highly recommend that people read it. It will answer a lot of questions I have. Yes, that's the book. Okay. And it's absolutely worth the read. Last night was about, more than anything, it was about, do we continue down the path of water pure? Even though we had letters read to us by Hilda Bay and I think a few other organizations that you have to, otherwise there will be a legal action. I try to stay calm and take things, I take everything seriously, but I want to say is that the threats, I don't like to respond or overreact to immediately. I don't necessarily believe in threatening as much as finding commonality and finding ways to work together. But with that said, is because of the concerns we have with the high cost, we're at about almost $700 million for this project. And it's huge. We know that the rates that came up last night that you all saw shows that within 5 years, the water will be double the cost. And the only thing that I think we should put in perspective, while we know a lot of people can't even afford to stay here and every dollar makes a difference, if we look at the fact that to buy the average home, if somebody was so lucky and fortunate and successful to buy the average home in our community, and if that interest rate went up not even 0.25% on their loan, it's far more money than the cost of your entire water bill. So if you look at the total cost of living in Ventura, it sounds horrible to think that water is going to be double the cost in 5 years and maybe triple within the next 10 or 15. But to have 20 to 25% of our water source forever without the legal challenges, without the climate change issues, without the lawsuits across the Western states, we see, like I said, an increase of less than 0.25% on the average mortgage of the average price home would be far exceed the average cost that someone pays for their entire water bill. So if you really look at the cost of living and what it takes to live here, it sounds outrageous that it would be doubled. And it's definitely something we take seriously, and we don't want to cost any more money for the cost to live here. It's already priced out too many. But we had to make a decision last night. Do we continue spending money for water pure and the wastewater treatment? Or do we potentially face the lawsuits that were being threatened? Or and what would it take if we chose not to continue water pure? That's been 14 years in the works. The best we could do is, my perspective, is contain the costs, absolutely watch as everywhere we can, every step to contain the costs, to seek grant money wherever we can, because that grant money is out there and will continue to come. If you read this book, you see that cities across this country, not even cities that are short on water, but cities that have to do something with their wastewater because they turn their rivers and their lakes and their streams into cesspools. And with the new water, Clean Water Act and so forth, they have to do something different with their water. So might as well make it 10 times cleaner than the water that we currently drink. And that's a great way to use our wastewater. So it's definitely, that book really answered several of my questions, and I highly, highly recommend you read it. And Barbara, can't thank you enough for loaning it to me. But we did make the decision as a council to move forward in spending the money on those three elements: advanced water treatment, the outtake, which is $119 million to run the what's left of the discharge out into a mile off the shore, and get out of the Santa Clara River, okay, which we have to legally do within the next couple of years. The third thing, and we went over the rates. We asked for it, and we will continue watching the rates. And as they continue to escalate, we want to make sure that we have relief, especially for those where every dollar makes a difference on whether or not they could buy food or they could have water. Okay, we're very cognizant of that.
So one of the things that I really liked about the book, it's purified by Peter and Lynn, was that, you know, so many communities since 2020 across the nation have moved to recycled water. And what I got out of it, aside from the details of, you know, what the advantages are, is that it's something we have to do. We are just simply running out of water. We don't have a lot of choices. There's not more water being created. I mean, yes, it's great we're getting water falling from the sky, but we are going to continue to go back and forth between feast and famine, I feel like. I mean, no one actually knows. But, you know, we're using up groundwater in a lot of areas where land is sinking. It's a huge challenge. And this is, you know, a scientific response to, you know, how do we resolve this issue? So as much as, like, I was really on the fence with regard to the cost.
Me too.
I am very concerned about people leaving the community just due to cost on the one hand. And I'm crossing my fingers we continue to get grants and good quality loans. But if you can read it, yeah, it's a great book. Yeah,
Excellent. I echo your sentiments, Barbara. I gotta tell you, I think most of us logical people, it's when we saw the cost balloon so dramatically, a huge part of that I witnessed myself in my own business, and honestly, it almost put me under 2 years ago, because I have never in my life seen prices skyrocket, especially in building materials that we saw 2 years ago, at a time period that projects that would normally take a month were now taking 10 months because we had no product and because we couldn't get permits in most of the jurisdictions. At that point in time, prices skyrocketed faster than I ever seen the 64 years I've been on this planet. And Water Pure suffered the same problem. We saw 25 to 45% increases, and those costs have not come down. Wood has come down. Most everything else has not come down in costs. Certain projects that I know of are 40 to 50% more expensive today than they were 2 years ago. And so be thankful if you own a house, be thankful that you built it or bought it a few years ago. If you have to build that same home today versus 2 years ago, you're probably going to spend 30 to 50% more to build the same home.
Crazy.
Yeah, it really is. The lack of affordability in California, I love our state. I am a Californian through and through. I'm determined to be part of the solution, one community at a time. We can fix the system, the problem. So much of our problems stem from the lack of affordability. But we have to look at the policies and what we've done over the last 50 years because there's things that we've done that we've watched cause housing to go through the roof. And we need to fix those things, and they are fixable. We don't want 100 million people here, but I do think we want our next generation to be able to spread roots in our communities. You know, I really do. And so we got to have a sustainable city that offers housing for all economic levels and bring our jobs back to our city so we don't have to drive 27.5 miles is the average commute each way for somebody in Ventura. And I know this is a novel idea, but maybe someday we'll tie our transportation systems, our mass transit, to our dense residential hubs so they could get to their jobs using mass transit instead of individual cars. That would just be a novelty. So, in any case, I'm being facetious, but you know what I mean. You guys, I always enjoy talking with you. I think I talked too much though tonight.
No, actually, tonight is one of the few nights where we had plenty of time.
Oh, great.
So thank you so much, Doug. Thank you also. I guess Mike has left, but it's always nice to have him join us as well. And if there are no other questions, I do want to make a couple of announcements. Any other questions? Okay, so I have 2 announcements, and Kathy, if you have more, just jump in. The Ventura Botanical Garden does not have any free days in July due to fire concerns. The Ventura Land Trust Wild and Scenic Film Festival will be held on August 24th. You can purchase tickets now on the Ventura Land Trust website. You know, a few years ago, I went to the Rubicon Theater children's performance. It was so much fun. And this year, the Rubicon Theater will be performing the Addams Family musical on July 28th, 29th, and 30th. And these kids are performing through the Kids Music Theater Group, which is part of Rubicon. It's so much fun. I encourage everybody to, you know, be a part of that. It's great fun. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Doug, since I know you were?
Well, the only thing I want to mention is that our youth program is something that really, really makes me smile, because a lot of these kids in our community would not have had this opportunity if it wasn't for the brain and the connections that Jim O'Neill and Carolyn Burns brought to us. And we over a dozen of our youth, that what came out of our youth program, have gone on over the last 25 years that Rubicon's been in existence. Over a dozen of our youth, and I think it's closer to the number I heard of 17, have gone on to perform on Broadway. And that's something that would not have happened. I mean, that's amazing. And the youth are getting an experience that only people in New York or LA or some of the largest cities would ever have had. And yet we're having it right here in Ventura. And when I heard, please not on screen tonight, but Glenn Overley, for instance, he made me smile when he got up and says, "I can't believe I'm in the same room as Joe Spano." Well, there's a lot of successful people that live in our community who love our community as much as we all love our community. And they're a big part of why Rubicon has been able to make it without any government funding. And it's just time for us to step it up and make sure it's sustainable. Carolyn has carried the weight for a very long period of time. And we're trying to create accessibility and parking is what we're trying to do as well. So
I just wanted,
are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say it was really, I was very impressed with all the kids that came to speak on behalf of the youth program at Rubicon at City Council last night. That was like a couple rows of kids that participate in the program, and kids that graduated from the program and have moved on to do other things. I was impressed.
Thank you, Kathy. I got to tell you, Barbara, if I can for a minute, is just say that, you know, most of you who know me, we may not always agree on certain things, or at least we think we don't, but it's just the path to get to a certain location. But it's the fact that I am so honored, and what's really kept me going all these years is my love for the city and trying to do anything I can to help make our city the best it can be. And I don't ever want to hear Bakersfield by the Sea or Kentucky ever again. This is a beautiful city and deserves much better than that. We created a community that very few places in this world can offer. And so what what's hard for me being on council is I have such a passion for our community, and I've been so fortunate and humbled to have been involved in numerous things, from the Botanical Gardens to Music Festival to Rubicon and our downtown, that it kills me to not have my voice, but to see people who love what's been created come and speak. It makes my night, and it just makes me very proud of our community. So anyways, I appreciate your comments, Cap, too.
All right, well, thank you all very much. Does anyone else have anything they want to say? An announcement? I mean, we have a lot going on, right? July. All right, well, then I'm going to say good evening, everyone, and have a wonderful week.
Okay, great to see everybody.
Thanks, Barbara.
Shortly.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Night.